Hey, Mariah.
Hi, Monique.
Hi. I have a question for you.
Shoot.
Have you ever heard of, well, you probably have heard of this, but I'm curious if our listeners have ever heard of the zone of genius.
Well, I have in fact read about it in The Big Leap, which is the book that we're talking about in this series on the Heart and Soul podcast. And I'm a big fan, so I'm excited to dive into that
Me
on today's
too.
episode.
Yes, let's do this.
Welcome to Heart and Soul, the podcast where we empower and inspire women to lead their best lives, harnessing the power of their hearts and souls. We are Mariah
And Monique.
your hosts and guides on this journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
In each episode, we will dive deep into topics that matter most to you, from self-love and confidence to career development, relationships, and everything in between. We believe that every woman has a unique strength and inner wisdom waiting to be unleashed.
Join us as we cover insightful heart and soul-centered topics and interview incredible women who've overcome challenges, chased their dreams, and found their true purpose. Through all of this, you will discover practical tips, strategies, and real-life stories to help you navigate life's twists and turns.
For whatever season of life you're in, this podcast is your safe space to explore, learn, grow, and possibly even laugh and cry with us. So grab your headphones, maybe your favorite drink, and we'll embark on this transformative journey together.
With heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I'm Monique. So Mariah, today we're going to talk about one of the foundational pieces of the book on our podcast series, The Big Leap, called The Zone of Genius. And what exactly is the zone of genius, right? And how do you understand if you're in the zone of genius or if you're not in the zone of genius? Because this is one of the key indicators for making the big leap, for kind of like getting yourself unstuck from maybe where you're at personally, professionally, wherever you are in your life. But how do you do that? So he broke down in the book these 4 zones and described them so that you can have a better understanding of where you're at and maybe where you should be looking to go. Because some of us think we're in our zone of genius, but we're not. So please explain to us these different zones and let's then chat about it.
Perfect. So I love being able to break it down into some very clear zones of the things that you're doing in your life that
Mhm.
may or may not be bringing you joy.
Yes.
And as you're pursuing breaking through the upper limit, you're finding yourself increasingly in spaces and in zones where you're feeling more joy, more abundance, more of all the good stuff. So the 4 zones, and we're gonna go through these one at a time. So the first one is the zone of incompetence. Well,
I've been there.
that's the easiest one to recognize, I feel like. It's where we're just pretty bad at everything. Like we're not the experts at things. There are lots of other people that could do this task, this thing better and quicker. So
Yes.
my zone of incompetence would be bookkeeping.
Oh, yes.
One of many.
A lot of
we all have a
people,
lot
yes.
of them.
Yes.
They're just things that we don't do well. I don't know. Plumbing, not my zone.
That's
I'd
not my zone
probably
either.
pretty bad at it. Like not my zone of competence. So the zone of incompetence you can pretty quickly recognize, and I feel like as you're growing up and you're figuring what I like, what I don't like, right? You're going through high school and you're thinking about going to college. It's a lot about like taking yourself in the direction of more competence in
Yes.
and not incompetence.
Right. Well,
right?
even there's grades and tests around like,
Yes.
you're not good at math, but boy, you're good at reading or vice versa.
Exactly.
Right.
We're kind of tuned into like getting people beyond that zone.
Yes.
From
So
the
maybe
start.
don't go if you're bad at reading like an English major, right?
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to be a plumber. It's just like probably not my thing. Really, anything in the engineering world.
Thank God for them,
I'm
by
out
the
there.
way.
And then you move. So from the zone of incompetence,
Okay.
you go into the zone of competence.
Mm,
Okay, here you can do these things.
sure.
You're not amazing at them.
No.
You're not the best in the world, but you can get by. However, there are still other people that could do these things quicker and better than you.
Okay.
Like, I'm probably in the zone of competence in graphic design. Like,
Oh, I think you're pretty good, but okay.
well, maybe, but in the grand scheme of things, like, I can do it, but am I the best at
And
it?
do you
Like,
love it?
should I do it? Is it what I want to be doing all the
Sure.
time? I like it more and more all the time, but whatever.
I think
It's
for me, it's cooking.
cooking.
I
Okay.
like it. I'm fairly decent at it, but there's so many people, like, I don't know, restaurant people who are fantastic at it.
And that's, it's a place you can be, but it isn't giving you like, I want to do this all the time.
Right.
Right. So then you push past there and you get into your zone of excellence.
Mm.
So here we're really good at these things. Like, we are known for doing them. We maybe wouldn't say they're our calling, that
Right.
like we are just bursting with joy to do whatever it is, but we can probably get paid well. We can make a good living doing it.
I have done
we could
this
do
for
it for a
jobs.
while.
Yes.
But this is the location that most people get stuck. Because as you're moving through your career and your life, you're recognizing I don't want to be incompetent. You're a little bored with competency. You get into excellence and it feels like, well, it'll do, right?
Yes.
You're willing to limit yourself there because
You're good at it.
you're in your mind having a hard time imagining that it could get better.
So this is that upper limiting belief thing, like hitting through to the next level. This is
Right.
where you're in your zone of excellence. You're probably making a good wage. You're probably like pretty good at it if you're in an excellence category. But I want to, because I've been there. I've been speaking about books. I'm very good at doing books, whatever. But do I love it? Hell no.
Right.
But I'm good at it.
It's that recognizing that you're good at something, but you don't love it.
Right.
Right. And thinking you don't deserve to love it. Well, it's just a job. It's something I can do. They pay me to do it. I don't love it, but I'll keep doing it.
Yes.
And most people fall in somewhere in this category.
I feel like
between
most people are in there.
competence
Yes.
and excellence.
Yes. They spend their whole career not knowing or understanding there's more.
Yeah, you could actually love how you spend every day.
Okay. So
Like-
that leads us to what?
Okay, so now
I'm so excited about this.
our zone of genius.
Yes.
This is our unique happy place.
Oh.
So if you think I'm in my happy place and it's specific to me, then I am functioning in my zone of genius. This is your calling. You hear people talk about, I was called to do something.
Yes.
Your gift, the thing that you can do for a long time,
Mm.
forever, without getting bored, or tired, or not wanting to do it anymore. This is your zone of genius. And moving yourself into the zone of genius from excellence is truly where you unlock your secret to abundance, happiness, like financial abundance, personal abundance. Like, that's the ticket right there. And that piece gets missed. And in societally, we condition people to just be content. To be content and in the zone of excellence, like, why can't you just be content there, right? Why do you need more?
Right.
But you're giving up of yourself, your own personal joy and love and abundance for the sake of contentment.
Your own
versus
genius.
moving to the next place of your zone of genius, where no matter like what you're doing within that zone, it's bringing you joy.
Yeah. And I believe in the book, he talks about how like you could just do this all the time and time kind of just is fluid. You're just like in the flow. And we talk a lot with our masterminds and everything about the flow and feeling into that. But a lot of people don't understand that kind of like concept of flow energy and being in that but in your zone of genius. So you've noticed people who are excellent at their job and they're like, God, it's only 11 o'clock. I have another however many hours to my day, but they're good at their jobs, right?
Yeah.
And they're getting a good paycheck. But imagine like, holy cow, it's 11 o'clock. That was just so fast. Like they're passionate about, I can even feel myself get excited just even talking in that way versus maybe the zone of excellence where you're good at it. You're really good at it and you're getting rewarded for it, but you're just not. It's the passion piece, I feel like, that's missing.
And so many people that are are pursuing their zones of genius at a young age are dissuaded from following those paths because the perception is that they couldn't possibly make money doing it,
Mm,
something that brings them great joy. Say an artist or
right.
musician, like to be an artist, to be a musician, like there's a lot of joy that comes from the producing of that craft. And it's one of the number one things that people are like, "Oh, you can't possibly make
You
a
can't
career.
make a
You can't
living
make
as
a
an
career of
artist.
that."
Right.
Well, I mean, says you, but
Right.
if that's that person's zone of genius and they truly are pursuing it, we have many examples to show that they can.
There are so many artists who make a living on their art, and so I want to just debunk that.
And the key being too, it's like the mindset of it. If you're doing it and you love it, all the other things will flow. The money, the abundance, the joy. But not doing that, then they definitely won't flow,
Right.
right?
It feels like work.
Feels like work. Work doesn't have to feel like work.
Right.
We can both vouch for that.
Absolutely.
And that does not mean that my profession or my career isn't hard. Doesn't mean that at all. Like, it's
Absolutely.
freaking hard. Like, I hit hard bumps in the road all the time, like head on. And I still find joy in what I'm doing. That's really the test.
And I
It's
would say
like,
you're very good at
even when
it.
it's hard.
Yes.
So if I think about myself, like I knew I had found my zone of genius in the wedding industry,
Mm.
in working weddings when I could
Mhm.
this is like crazy human here. I could work a 20-hour day
Mhm.
and on a wedding
Mhm.
producing this event and then go home and not be able to sleep because I just wanted to look at all the
You were
photos.
so excited.
I was so jazzed. I would literally like fall onto my bed. My feet hurt so bad. My body hurt so bad. My mind was racing and I'd look at the photos from that day.
Just reliving it,
Every
recapturing every
second, all I wanted to do
moment.
is think about it
Oh,
and talk
I
about it.
could see
And I
it.
did that like every weekend for 10 years. Crazy person.
No,
But
you were in it.
literally in
Yes.
it.
Yes, you were in your
And
zone.
I could build this thing against all other odds. And I mean, that was literally like the passion fueling every step of the way.
I love it.
Once you live like that, you kind of become unwilling to live any other way.
So I love that.
Yeah.
Right. Once you have a taste of genius, you're like, oh, that was kind of like a big thing. I did that thing. And I'm like, I feel, good about what I did. And obviously, other people, if you service other people, if you give a service, they felt good about it. So I can give an example even for myself when I was like coaching a client and they were like, that was amazing. And I was like, I literally don't feel like I did anything. And they're like, "No." And I was like, I didn't do the thing. You did the hard work. You are the one who worked on the plan, transformed your life. I was just there accompanying you, giving you tips, tools, things. And I just felt like, wow, my natural inclination really helped them. That just felt like so free and it felt so flowy and it felt just like wonderful.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you're talking, like you could do it all day and you're like, and people are they love it. Like the weddings, they're like, they show up and you're making a miracle happen. And you're just like, oh, we just do this, we love doing this way. It's fantastic when you can be in that zone.
A lot of entrepreneurs live in that zone. Part of
Yes.
what makes you take the leap to the big leap of opening a business is the pursuit of your zone of genius and
Yes.
feeling that way. And even when it's hard, when you're learning to do all these zones of incompetence that you suddenly have to deal with as an entrepreneur and work your way through them, part of that drive, 100% behind it, is that you love what you're doing. You are just uniquely suited to run this business that is your brainchild. And then to be successful in that, it's actually working your way as a one-woman show out of doing all the things within that
Yes.
business that no longer serve you because they're not in your zone of genius.
Yes.
So flash forward today, as I continue to evolve as a businesswoman and in my career, I'm looking for the new areas that I can bring my zone of genius like in this work, in
Right.
podcasting or in coaching people, helping people. What have I taken from all of the work that I've done and is the next level? Like pushing past that. I'm like no longer content with just what I did for 10 years, 15 years. Like, what is the next evolution of how I can bring what I've learned from my work to the world? And so that's sort of like even in when you're in your zone of genius, that can evolve in itself.
I
That
agree.
can grow and change to like what used to bring you joy begins to no longer bring you the same amount of joy.
Yeah.
So I turn to what brings me the next level of joy. And so that's where I'm kind of evolving in my own career through
And I
pursuing
feel
that.
like as creatives, creative people, and all people are creative, right? But it's at which way it shows itself and presents in their lives. We should allow ourselves the space to evolve and grow, right? Because we don't know what's around the next corner. It could be even more of our zone of genius. Maybe we think we've arrived and it could grow and expand onto that. So I love that you brought that up because I do believe we're constantly evolving and growing as humans. And when we cap ourselves like, well, this is good. I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. But I love that question of like, well, how could I offer it even more?
Yeah. Always
Right?
asking,
Right.
what is the next
Mhm.
way that I could continue to move past my upper limiting beliefs and into the next zone, like genius plus,
Right.
not being content with just staying there because it will naturally evolve and change.
Right, and I imagine even for Gay Hendricks, he had a very, abundant practice where he would guide people,
Yep.
mentorship, coaching, therapy, whatever it was. I imagine for him, he had an upper limit about writing the book. I'm creating a story, but think
Mm-hmm.
about it. He was doing his zone of genius.
Yep.
He loved it. He could do it all day. And then he probably thought to himself, similar to you, how can I reach more people and tell them about this wonderful thing, this big leap that I want them all to live in such an abundant
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle? He had to step out of his zone of comfort or, wherever he was at, and he had to do a bigger thing. So
Yep.
I think it's important to point that out. Like,
Well, he even wrote a next book, The Genius Zone.
oh, I have not
So,
read that. I want to
yeah,
read that.
that's a good
Yes.
one too. Yeah, anything can become comfortable if you do it for long enough. It
Right.
can become a place of competency or
Right.
excellence. And so recognizing that it's a lifetime pursuit,
Hmm.
but you know it when you feel it. And once you feel it, like I said before, then you crave it and you don't want to do it any other way. And that's when you can sense within yourself, hmm, I think it's time to move on and push through this next level of through this next upper limit so that I can continue to grow in my zone of genius.
Yes. I love the distinction between the zone of excellence and zone of genius. It's really, could you do it all day? Does it make you feel amazing? You're so good at it. Like everything follows. Excellent. You're great. Your excellence, you're great at it, but maybe you're not like on fire or jazzed about it.
And we see this in the women that we work within our
Yes.
mastermind. You can really like when you're listening, we're going around the table in the mastermind
Hmm.
format. Everybody is sharing where they're at, what their battles are, how they need help.
Right.
And as they're talking about what they do, especially in the beginning, and they're explaining to us their career, their business, you just feel it and you can sense energetically like
Yes.
where they're operating from.
Right.
And you can sense, okay, in order to move her from where she's at to the next level, we're going to need to plague these upper limits. And when you're listening to someone talk, oh my gosh, it's really kind of nuts. Like how many times in one conversation an upper limiting
It's
belief
so
or
true.
thought can enter. And we'll often call that out right in our
Yes.
sessions. We'll
Yes.
say, wait a minute, what I just heard from you sounds very upper limiting. And it sounds to me like you're operating in your zone of excellence. And where we really need to think about is like what would be your big leap, your genius move. And they're all of a sudden are like, whoa,
That's why we love this
mind
book.
blown.
Yes, we
Yeah.
love this book because it presents these concepts to women who are probably operating out of their zone of excellence, don't know that they're the ones holding the keys to get to the zone of genius, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's going to take being uncomfortable. It's going to take, hard. But when you're pursuing joy to get there,
Right.
that is a lot less painful because the
Right.
things that you're doing are actually the clues and the keys to moving through to your zone of genius or through that next upper limit.
Yeah, well, I have really enjoyed our conversation about the zone of genius. I hope that these little nuggets of tips that we've given, like, just put a sense of curiosity in our listeners' minds about where they're at, and maybe do they have hopes and dreams of where they want to go? Also, where is their passion points? Maybe we've challenged them with thinking, I could never make money at art or whatever their thing is. You can. If it's the thing that you love and are passionate about, you should follow that. So, more episodes will follow on The Big Leap. We are excited to share even more of Gay's concepts from the book, as we do with our mastermind group. So, feel free to tune in. Next week, more information will be coming out.
Cheers, friends. You've just finished another episode of the Heart and Soul podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed the show, and if you've loved it, we would love if you'd leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening. You can find links to leave that review in the show notes, where you'll also find other resources that we reference on our show. And if you think a friend could find value in today's episode or any future episodes, please share this episode with them on social media. This is one of the only ways the podcast can organically grow, and we just can't wait to connect with you and all of your besties. You can also find Monique and I on our many social media platforms or our websites, and we're going to leave links to those in the show notes as well. Thank you for listening. We look forward to sharing our hearts and souls with you again next time. With Heart, I'm Mariah.
And with Soul, I'm Monique.